Despite the market downturn, the Souvenir trade-up update seems to have some interesting prospects for the future, right? For over a decade at this point, Souvenir skins have been utterly useless in Counter-Strike. They were designed to intentionally be special, to be a memento of a time, a place, a specific moment in Counter-Strike history. But yet, despite their name and despite the stickers and the new highlight charms, whatever they decide to do, the Souvenir skins have been treated like a second-class citizen in terms of the Counter-Strike skin ecosystem. Aside from a few fucking freaks, they're generally disregarded en masse. And this was only made worse when Valve added gold stickers to capsules, making souvenirs completely useless. Why would I open this capsule with an 80% chance of getting a gray when I could spend $7 on 4 gold stickers and make my own? But for the first time ever, that might be changing. The future looks bright, or brighter, for Souvenir skins in Counter-Strike 2. Because it seems we're going to have a decently scarce, or at least decently meaningful Souvenir system along with Cologne 2026. And while it may take a long time, I do think the sentiment regarding Souvenir skins will change in the future. And I say this because we recently got a leak on Twitter from user Isla. I believe she's a data miner, and she found what seems to be the prospective Souvenir system that we're supposed to be getting along with the Cologne Major. The system, I imagine, will be unlocked as soon as those first games start in Stage 1, but since obviously no games have started yet, we haven't seen the actual system behind it. And it answers a few questions that we've been asking since the update has come out. For one, she noted that all of the stickers seem to be in the same place for each gun. So no variety there, just a small little blip, but it was something we wondered about on the stream, which if you want to check out tonight, I think we're going to be buying the dip a little bit. So if you want to tune in, be able to share your thoughts and pick each other's brains there, that's where we'll be. But it also showed us how the souvenirs will be implemented in Cologne 2026. It's fairly intuitive, and it's pretty much completely consistent with the sticker system that we also just received an overhaul to, right? Instead of taking a case, buying it, and opening it, you now have to create your own souvenir. The cost is directly correlated with the cost of the stickers on the market, and the price of the souvenir will depend on the rarity in which your gun is. So it takes the total cost of all 4 stickers, the 2 teams, the autograph, and the map logo, and it applies a discount to your gun, 90% if it's a gray or consumer, 80, 70, and so forth, until you get to covert, red, 40% off. Now, I think this confirms that the souvenir packages thing that I talked about in a couple of videos ago might have just been a typo, or something that we're actually not going to be getting when the major comes out, right? For one, if these souvenirs that you're crafting are based off of the prices of golds, if you just release souvenir packages, the prices of golds are going to plummet towards the earth. And they seem to not have changed any of the text since 2019 in regards to that text, and they seem to not have changed that text in many years, according to CS ROI owner Brongo on Twitter. And this piece of text only pops up when you do not have the pass active, so it's something realistically that the devs could have just simply overlooked, right? And it just kind of creates direct competition to the souvenir crafting system they added. So I don't think with the current information we have now, the souvenir packages are going to be a reality for Cologne 2026. But that's just a quick little aside. I think what the most important thing is now that souvenirs are directly tied to sticker demand, and so are subsequently prices. And unlike the packages, we no longer have an infinite supply. Now, off the bat, admittedly, these prices are pretty expensive, right? Obviously, these golds are now the most expensive ones in the game because they're now going to be highly sought after. So even with these discounts, the prices of the souvenirs are going to be pretty expensive for maybe some coverts in a lot of cases. I don't know how Valve intends to make the economics of the situation a little bit more enticing for the general consumer. As I said, I don't think a sale in the way in which we've been used to is going to work. They could probably find a way to implement some type of discounting, maybe lock the prices, then apply a discount. But even then, I'm not entirely sold on that fact. Skins.com is the newest sponsor on our channel. They have just released a P2P trading platform looking to compete with the best players in the space. If you don't want to wait that long, they do have an insta-sell feature on the site in which the rates are the best I've seen, just straight up. When the market is down, everything is on sale. And with the deals you're getting on skins.com, you could start your position basically up 20 to 25%. Try out skins.com and be a part of the future of CS2 skin trading. But the cost to craft one is not necessarily what's on my mind. That will be answered in time. It's more so what happens to the supply of souvenirs over time. Because yes, they're still souvenir guns, and yes, you're still obtaining a souvenir guns in exchange for your money, but the entire transaction is completely different. Souvenir packages are predicated upon chance. You're not necessarily buying a souvenir, you're buying the souvenir package in hopes that you get the best souvenir gun out of it, right? For a long time, a lot of these collections simply weren't available in the game. You can't open them via a case. You had to get lucky via a weekly drop or an operation reward. So these packages were the only way in which to get one of these. So you weren't buying a souvenir, you were buying a chance at the top gun in the game. In fact, when you got these souvenirs, a lot of the time people just scraped off all of the stickers because they just want the actual gun, not the souvenir that goes with it. But now you're not buying that. You're buying the souvenir status itself, and that's it. You get a 90% discount, yes, but if you're buying a gray and you're putting souvenir stickers on it, you're doing it with just the end of having it be a souvenir gun. So now you're not creating a bunch of supply in chase of a ultra max win. What you're doing is just creating one gun, one memory, and it has to be intentional because otherwise you're not going to spend $15 on the souvenir. So that's an important distinction to make, and it's a good distinction to make because now souvenirs are going to be created only intentionally and not just for the means of getting to the top red end. And do souvenir packages even make sense when we think about it in this way? You have people relentlessly grasping onto the old system, saying that these were memories. But what's a memory about opening a souvenir package from 2024 in 2026? There is none. You have no physical connection to what happened then. It's a memory from a specific moment in Counter-Strike history. That's what the souvenir system philosophically is supposed to represent. But then I could just go ahead and buy a souvenir package from 2015 and 2026 and then just create a new memory. So it's just a strange system that doesn't really make too much sense. If you actually wanted to call these guns souvenirs and you actually want them to be exclusive to a point in time, a system like this makes more sense because you can only create souvenirs during the major. That way, a year from now, however many souvenir guns from Cologne 2026 there are, is locked and will only go down if people want to use them in a trade up for whatever reason. So conceptually, it already makes more sense this way. And if this is the only way to make souvenirs in Cologne 2026 and packages are now effectively gone, or at least the supply of remaining packages are capped and will only go down from here on out, now the supply dynamics of all of these things change. Because technically now, all of these collections are discontinued. Every single major, you'd get more souvenir packages, effectively making these collections actively drop, at least twice a year. Now, they're no longer actively dropped. But since souvenirs were valued less because A, once you opened a skin, it had no trade-up utility, a lot of these souvenirs were less money than their actual collection counterparts. Now, since they're equal because they have equal trade-up value, you create more supply, which is going to hurt price in the long term. Fair enough. But once that sentiment starts to change a little bit, right? Because we now know that souvenirs and regular guns are effectively the same, and trade-ups in the way in which Valve implemented these souvenir trade-ups only decrease souvenir supply. So over time, you'll have more regular guns and less souvenir guns for some of these collections like Mirage and Dust, which makes souvenirs more rare, which should be how it is. And if you want to get that souvenir red, you have to open up a package or you have to craft it for Cologne 2026. And also, just as a little side note, Gold Arabesque, Desert Hydra, Welcome to the Jungle, there might be like 0 souvenir ones of these for Cologne 2026 after the major's said and done, right? Why would you be making one of these? The market for these things just tanked, more so than other skins right now. But the souvenir supply of these guns hasn't done anything. You have to unbox them from packages. You cannot trade up into a souvenir red. So these things are still decently rare in souvenir, and the fact that their sentiment was just blown into dust over the last 2 weeks, the prospects of them being used for souvenirs, especially when we've just fundamentally changed it, allowing any skin to be souvenir, the instances of these souvenir guns in Cologne 2026 are going to be very far and few between. For the first time ever, you can create souvenir Gungnir, souvenir princes. While it was a thing, you can now make a souvenir Dragonlord at your will. And now that they cost money and you don't just have to open a package, you're not only going to get less instances of souvenirs in this major overall, but because you opened up the pool of skins eligible to become souvenir so much wider, each skin is going to have less souvenirs per gun. Maybe you only get 5 souvenir princes, 5 souvenir M4 fades, 5 souvenir Gungnirs, whatever, you know what I mean. And since they're actually demanded guns and they're from, if the owner of them is smart at the time, they can make them highly demanded by using a highly popular match, an iconic play. Guns actually just have a new way in which to be unique. This M4 fade can have 99%, this M4 fade can be 80%, This one can have a 0.06. This one can have a 0.0005 float. But if this one's a souvenir from one of the most iconic matches in Counter-Strike history, you may be more inclined to buy the worse M4. So it's just another way in which to denote uniqueness, which is what souvenirs are supposed to be. This M4 was used by Donk, and then I threw his fucking souvenir sticker on that shit when he gave it back to me. And because there isn't a billion trillion souvenir skins anymore, because we're getting rid of the old ones with trade-ups, and we're having to pay basically $30, $40 to make one souvenir red, they're going to be more rare, factually. It's just a matter of time before the market catches up to this sentiment-wise. Even me, even all of you, I'm sure, when you see a souvenir gun, you're immediately inclined to just kind of step away and avoid it because it has such a negative connotation, and it's always had that since they were a thing 12 years ago. But in time, I think the general sentiment will change, and I think our sentiment will change as well. Because factually, what's going to happen with these current prices, at least right now, barring a super sale that Valve could do, the amount of souvenirs coming in are going to be practically nothing. In fact, if you take into account the amount of trade-ups happening, the amount of souvenirs is going to be a net negative for a long time. So skins without patterns, skins that look the same but are all expensive like the Wild Lotus, now you have a way to differentiate yourself from the one next to yours. You want a reason to sell yours? You want a reason for someone to buy yours? Well, if you have a nice souvenir on it and you made a good purchasing decision back then that might help you in the future to get rid of your skin now. Because now it's unique, the stickers are valuable, it represents a specific major, a specific player, a specific game, a specific point in time, exactly what souvenirs should have always been in the game to do. They haven't, but they've made a positive change. Now, obviously, if it isn't a typo and we get those packages, a lot of what I'm just saying is just completely null and void. But the actual evidence seems to point in the direction of packages not being a thing, so I effectively ignored it for the purpose of this video. I think I can reasonably do that. It does pretty much, everything points in the direction of it being a typo. There's no way they can get away with charging these types of prices unless there is no packages in the game. Valve made souvenirs finally useful. They've made gold stickers finally useful once again because they're not in capsules anymore, being oversupplied. They actually seem like they might be important. So I don't know if souvenir prices are going to be exorbitantly high in the next week or even the next year. In fact, maybe there'll be a lot of Cologne 2026 souvenirs because it's such a brand new system and because it is exciting just because of the fact that it's new. But over time, as the system becomes stale once again, people seem to forget about it. Over time, souvenirs are going to become rare and souvenirs are going to be actually maybe demanded for the first time ever. So something to be a little bit excited about, something to think about. Yes, the market's down, but there is some always cool stuff to look at and look forward to the future because this too shall pass. Excited to see what you guys have to think, and peace.